That's really weird. In the permissions thing in the settings, for some reason, it disabled access to programs. So
okay. Can we go live now?
yeah, you should be live.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now it's time for practice.
That was the early on. Let's see if we're live.
Playing it again.
That's the. No, I don't know. I don't know. We might be live, actually, and I can't see it yet, which is just classic. There we are.
Yes, we are. It's been a interesting start to this.
Yeah, it has been an interesting start. And if you're just joining this and haven't seen the opening, and the opening was super poignant, we realized we didn't have audio, and that's, I won't belabor why that is.
Well, I know what is. It's definitely Mercury.
The astrology, Mercury retrograde. There you go. But it was a very poignant moment the other day in Birmingham at the Bullring, where I'd joined a bunch of people who are primarily protesting the kind of the headline stuff out there, 5G, banking, trafficking of this and that. And as Daz was saying, Darren Nesbitt of the Light Paper, there is like a fragmentation in the sort of post-COVID truther space, to do with some people being more focused on 5G or more focused on jab injuries or other things, council tax or whatever. There's so many different subcategories that people say this is the one. And Darren, he obviously, we met as flat earthers, but he is his primary focus these days is in stuff that the majority of people can get a hold of, because it is the case that deep into the truther community you still find a large number of people who can't contemplate seriously that the entirety of science, academia, and so on could have been hoodwinked. They're just too smart, and they don't realize how clever the system is. But it was a poignant moment when I was filming Daz and then started filming some of those yellow boards and saw the faces and just a brief line or two of people's situation and age, and real healthy young people entering the prime of their life, and cut down fast, turbo this, all of a sudden that, suddenly then unalived. And so yeah, it was poignant. And
Hippie Shake has put that intro in the chat.
Thank you, Hippie.
Very kindly. You're amazing.
And thank you for sharing it out. And
yeah, you're amazing.
Appreciate that, and I appreciate it. If anyone else fancies sharing it, even if it's just temporarily, it does help us to reach a wider set of ears. And if you can give it a thumbs up, I guess that would also help Algo land. But yeah, it was poignant. I saw Matman, and I saw Julie and Martin, stalwarts of getting out there. There's some video of them floating around. There's a bit more of that video. I put an hour out yesterday morning, I think, and there's another half hour that I've edited and put together for Sunday, so look out for that. It's a I mean, wow, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. You know, the numbers are eye-watering and horrific, and you know, it is difficult to say if you stack one thing on top of which of these horrors that has been wrought on mankind is worse. And I feel like with Darren's position, like I'm sympathetic to the rah rah rah, get out there and let people know you know that, but at the same time, I'm not surrounded by peace and love and harmony and light and so on. I know it's called the light paper, but and this is not about Darren at all. But it's just you know, in the truth sphere, there's some other conversations I had and so on, and I think there's a real value in remembering the inward journey, and once we're so passionate in the warrior journey, did you see that in the intro? Where I was speaking to a Ghanaian gentleman and talking about the samurai, the true warrior, being one who has practiced self-mastery rather than is all rah, rah, rah down at the pub on a Saturday night trying to push people around, you know. And I guess that's my own journey and the journey that I would like to help others take. In self-mastery, and I support what people are doing in the activism space to generate awareness. But it was interesting for me because I was a bit of an outsider. It wasn't necessarily I didn't have a dog in that particular race. You know, I did do a little bit of flat earth activism, obviously, and maybe talked about a few of those mainstream topics, but I wasn't there sort of to be an activist on the or a street activist on the day. I was there to observe and see where it's at, you know, and maybe talk to some people that are involved in it. And I feel like for them, they admitted, you know, the numbers of people sort of coming out to talk about these things or do a bit of protesting have really, really dropped off in the last 2 years. You know, there was such a movement. Stand in the park and so on. They still go, but people, you know, have most people, like someone said to me, have, you know, dropped back into their wanting normalcy again, and let's just get on with it. And I see that as indicative of how it is around, you know, across the world, that there is just this, like, let's just get on with it. And of course, people are trying to keep their heads down while I think that other things are, you know, well, you know, people are not that interested.
Can I give a perspective?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that for me, there is layers to it or levels to it. It's like there is one seeing outside awareness, but if we aren't allowing that to reflect inwards, then we will just go back to sleep. We'll see something and then we'll go back to, or we'll morph into something else.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm the guru, now I'm the truther, now I'm the activist, now I'm the whatever the new label is. Now I'm awake. You know, that's another label we have to give ourselves. But for me, it's like if I'm saying there's lies out there, then I have to accept that there's lies going on in here. It's a mirror.
Yeah.
As within, so without. Yeah. And so for me, it's like unless I go to the lies I'm telling myself, then that's where the journey's going to slow down. I'm not saying stop. It's going to slow down.
Okay, so if I can kind of just go back a little bit on that, and that is to say that, I feel like I love that people are so passionate about getting the truth out there, telling their neighbors, putting newspapers, the light paper out to whatever, but people buy them, don't they? And then distribute 100 to their neighborhood or whatever. And I love that. and and the activists and those that have gone before and so on. And there have been activists all the way back in time. I bet there were activists in 1920 saying, hey, we do not like what's going on here. You guys are railroading us into something. 1930, 1935, people would have been saying, we see what you're doing here. And then we're going to stand up and try and protest against that. And we might even make some minor inroads. But ultimately, the system takes, the step that it intended to take all along. And so I feel like with this, that and moving into stage 3 of this century-long plan, if not longer, it is written. It is to happen. But that doesn't mean that we have to go down with the ship. And that's where I think what happens is that we want to stand in front of the train and as the train is going past, and the train is thousands of miles long, and you're just standing there forever going, look, the train, the train, the train. And I think we can do that, but it should be more like, we're going to go and visit the train and have a little look and see what's going on there and so on. But we're going to carry on doing the work on ourselves. And we don't necessarily, Andrew and I don't necessarily agree on the notion that, Nathan actually said it. I don't have Squirrel's in the chat now, but Nathan actually said it in a comment today or yesterday that, reality only exists when there's someone to observe it. And so if we are trying to observe, or if we are continually observing that reality, then are we kind of co-creating it?
Of course you are.
And so whilst the world is going on and popping firecrackers all over here, are you kind of giving that your energy, or are you, because that it has to do the firecracker thing? And this is kind of to balance the line between sitting on the hilltop and meditating for 20 years and standing in the bull ring and yelling until everybody's got bloody ears. I didn't feel there were some interested people in the bull ring, and there was quite a big group, maybe 100 or so people, and lots of banners, and as you see, but did the mass, and there was quite a mass of people Saturday bull ring, quite a mass of people there, and it didn't really grab people's attention. And interestingly, I think I filmed a little bit of this one youngster walks up to her mother and says, oh, they're protesting, come, let's get away. Like, other people were like, because I was following the protest march for a while, people were kind of, it's a bit like flat earth really, like more like, oh, that's ridiculous. And I mean, when you see those pictures of those young people who left us because weeks after they took needles, when you see that, and you think people are just able to kind of put it to one side. But then again, that's true with Ukraine, Russia. That's true with Israel, Gaza. That's true with so many places in the world where all sorts of misdeeds are being wrought upon, the product of God, the essence of God is what we are. Yes, that may be all because, in us we have stuff, and the whole of mankind has been, inculcated with such stuff, such that we are there. And when we say you can't unlock the gates of Shawshank prison because Shawshank is full of people that have been conditioned, and they cannot just be simply released into the wild or natural order. So maybe there is a kind of dare I say it, like a grown-up conversation with yourself about, okay, so I know, and I don't need to be the guy that knows every last detail, perhaps of all the subjects or whatever. I may be interested in focus on a particular subject or two, but really it has to not be at the expense of myself, because that feels like the right position to me, having thought about this, having walked through what I've walked through. I enjoyed being in the street, and I want to do that more, but I don't want to do it from a, we gotta stop them now, we gotta stop them now. No,
who are we stopping?
Well,
And for me, this is Dave and I are we sort of touch on agreeing and not agreeing about this, but this is my perspective, and I just think that from a trauma perspective, what we do is we oscillate between submitting or rebelling. Both of them, you're still in survival. Both of them, you're still engaged in the narrative. Both of them, you're still attached, and you're still giving your energy to it. Freedom is neither of those, and I think that this need to have them stop, or the need for them to take responsibility, is a very young one. And whilst I'll use myself as an example, if I had to go to my mother and say to her, I want you to be responsible, and I want you to stop, and I want you to do all those things to make up for the things that happened to me when I was younger, and I had a very fairly normal childhood, so it's like nothing was extreme, but it doesn't need to be. It's very subtle. Then that's still that little girl that's the victim that needs that to. That's the only way I'm going to heal. And we don't need that. In fact, I would say that keeps us in victim consciousness. And it's that very victim consciousness that they're looshing. So whilst I'm standing on the side of the road, it's like the little child having a tantrum, or wanting mommy and daddy to make up for or take responsibility. This system that is running here is not broken. It is made for purpose. It's working. And until such a time as we detach from it and no longer give it our energy, and that doesn't mean you can't be in the world, but you're in the world, not of it. And it's a sovereignty of the soul. We're all about, oh, we need sovereignty. Well, it's a freedom of the soul. It's a freedom of the very thing that you are, that you're born to be, but we've forgotten. And this is uncomfortable. And Dave doesn't necessarily like it when I say this, but whilst we stay the victim, whilst we want someone to be the savior or to pay for it, then that's where we will remain. And really, actually, this is the uncomfortable truth. Until you forgive, and forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about saying, I am not going to give my energy to that anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to come from a place of love.
Yeah.
Maybe really strict boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consent.
Yeah.
But from a place of love.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's why a lot of us maybe feel frustration, is because we cannot necessarily get away from the perpetrator, or who we see as the perpetrator. And so we stay in this victim consciousness. I have a friend who I met at South Africa House. He was an attaché, military attaché. And when I was doing my book rounds, and back in 2014, 15, I was invited to the South Africa House for a meeting, and I'd gotten friendly with this guy, and he's someone with like a brown skin, and the group of people in South Africa are known as colored people. Now, obviously, in America, that means black skinned, and I don't know whether people like it or not. Colored people were given that name by, I think, by the apartheid government, or by the European governments of the early times. And they were a distinct group of people that are said to be a mixture of Malaysian and European and African or something. So there's a mixture that creates a unique brand, if you like, in this system where we like to brand people. And the colored people were treated in the apartheid years, were treated, shall we say, better than black people, but not as well as white people. There was like a hierarchy, a pecking order. And then when the black government came into power, they were still not given parity. They were still not given equality. And this gentleman and I, we've been having a little bit of an exchange, and he is of the view still very much that it's the white man who was given all of this privilege and still must therefore pay for having been, you know, exploitative of that the colored people. And I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but I say to him, like, but what don't you realize is that actually the Europeans are slaves too, you know, like they were the first ones, because they were close to the crown or the nexus of Rome or whatever it is that runs this place, or they were the first people that were subsumed by the Khazarians as brought under their control. They are simply puppets doing their bidding. I mean, we've seen houses, or we've come across people who are living in grand houses and they work for the pharmaceutical industry. It's like, yeah, we could be saying, hey, well, look, that dude and his £3 million house, we should take that from him because, you know, he's gotten it from these ill-gotten gains. And it is the case that if you happen to work in the banking system and you've made a fabulous, you know, mint for yourself because of that, that doesn't make you necessarily culpable. Yes, you had an advantage over other people economically because of the, you know, where you work in the bank and all of that sort of thing. But you're probably no more aware of the truth of the depth of the scam that's going on here. And like I said to this guy and his friend who was also chiming in the conversation, that, you know, didn't we see in 2020 that there was no group, as far as I'm aware, there was no group that was singled out, no sort of nationality that was singled out for an excuse, except you could say the Swedish didn't lock down quite as hard, but there was no group that was exempt from all the nonsense that went on. And you know, so we are all under the same thing. It is just the matter of, and one more point on that is that in South Africa, Zimbabwean people, particularly black Zimbabwean people who make up the majority, particularly now in Zimbabwe, they often try to get to South Africa, sometimes illegally, often illegally. It's a little bit like the Mexican-American thing, often illegally, and they will then get work in South Africa. They then become a target of hatred by the South African black folk because they're in their communities taking their jobs, and a threat to their economy, in the same way as Americans have been made to feel that about the Mexicans. So, you know, the game of pitting brother against brother stretches far beyond simply black, white, colored, brown, you know, African, European. You know, you see it in Ghana, in Sudan, you know, Ethiopia. You know, are these not places that have had all sorts of, so we say, tribal, you know, conflict? And where is that conflict born out of? You know, sometimes it's just simply man and his machinations, and sometimes it would seem, in the modern way anyway, I don't want to be too broad brush with this, but that, you know, a lot of that's been created out of the modern system, where people are, you know, reliant on this paper money and, you know, demands more and more from them. So anyway, that's, I'll hand the mic over there.
The only thing I say about that is that you're still handing your power over to whoever you're saying is your perpetrator. You're still saying that I can't get over this. I can't forgive. I can't love.
Yeah.
Because of that person.
Absolutely.
And or that group.
Absolutely.
Or that
Absolutely.
or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And so you're still a victim.
Yeah.
So actually you're still in the cage.
I think that's actually where I was wanting to finish that point, because and that's maybe where the conversation I had with this guy on Facebook went, was, you know, how are we ever to come together?
It's very seductive, victimhood. I know it well. I know well, it was like, oh, this was done to me, I'm really angry about it, and I'm still working through that stuff, not being seen and heard. I still have, and the current energy at the moment has really been like highlighting that stuff and bringing up all that emotions. So if I can move into that little conversation about the energy right now.
Yeah. Did you want to look at the...
Well, I won't straight away. I just wanted... Well, actually...
Well, before you do that, I
yes.
just want to quickly say hello to some people in the chat room. And before I do that, I wanted to say hi to Lucy and John in Limoges. Friends of ours. We've spent a little bit of time with them. I think they joined us in 2019 on the Globe Light Tour when we were in what city?
It was along the...
They took us over a meal.
West Coast. Oh, I can't think of it.
Yeah, Bordeaux. No?
Bordeaux, that's it.
Yeah. Hit the likes if you don't mind. Someone said, hi, Angela, baby, and Kathy. DJ Emo says, what you spend too much time around, you will become. Yeah, and it actually, I spoke to some people, much respect and love to them all. I don't have like I'm looking down on my brother and sister in this conversation at all. I just, when I see some of the people, one or two of the people that I interviewed that was sort of hardcore in the game of protesting, you can see that they're living it. They've become it. They are at war, and admire that. But if you stay in a state of war, then you are at conflict. You are not at peace.
Well, you're in survival as well. Yeah. You're just in a state of survival.
You cannot achieve a place of love in this thing. And again, it's like, we know they're going to create all of this stuff. We know that they have created wars in which millions have left, and the COVID, millions have left, and many more, and it's come, personally touched us. Many more have been seriously affected. So there is everywhere you look, and in every part of history, there has been this poison. And it's like, somehow it's part of this game. And even if we're to be like Neo and change it and do something else, or there's a whatever coming, I'm like, do I want to spend it all in fear and resistance, or love and
I think
harmony?
The whole point of this journey is to remember who you are. I think I even question whether we're supposed to go through experiences that creates this ego, and then the point is that we are finding our way back to who we truly are, and we're finding our way back to love and joy, and that doesn't mean this journey is just like one big joyful fest. It's a human experience, and we go through loss and hard times. Actually, that's when we grow the most. My it's a bit dark. My sister is currently struggling with a whole lot of health problems, and actually, as uncomfortable as it is and how hard it feels, it's becoming the spark or the pivot or the reason to say there has to be more, and that would not have happened if life was just coasting.
So you could go as far as saying, thank you.
Well,
thank you for the lesson, because actually, and sometimes in life, isn't that where you go, damn, that teacher was hard on me, but the lesson that he or she gave me has stood me in good stead. And so the lessons we've given ourselves, or that this game was created to give you,
is sometimes the medicine.
And so and that's not to say that it's to kind of, I'm kind of coming to terms with the awful stuff that is going on, because that I would have that stop, and I did my little part to try and stop people from going down the COVID route and whatnot. But I do think that it's like, this game is wild. It's designed to be so mad. It has to be designed to be so mad.
we have to remember, and you told me this, and it stopped me in my tracks, that if God is all,
yeah,
then he's the dark and the light. And so
logic,
we
right?
have to, there's an element of mystery and trust in all of this bigger plan that's going on. And our purpose, and even that word, you know, your purpose is just to be. Your purpose is to be love, the expression of love, the expression of God, and anything that gets in the way of that, that's our work. That's our deep work.
Can you imagine being like this Zen soul of yourself, you know, Zen version of yourself, and you're like cruising through your life? It doesn't mean to say that there aren't things that still bring you challenge and that you still have to overcome. I suspect that's always
lifetime.
Part of the life story, but that you're so zen and super, like people go, dude, you know, and then I'm just stopping myself there going, sometimes you don't want to tell people the truth of the reality of here, because it would just ruin where they're at, you know. It's like maybe one of the things that where I shock people in the street is that, you know, that's a long way from, but anyway, the point is that if you are super zen and people go, so how did you get that way? And you go, well, let me tell you, the world is like this, dish, 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 dish. And now they've broken into a cold sweat, and they're like, what? But then how can you be? Well, that's the point, is that you've got to face that the world is like that the world is a horror show, because you can't.
I think it's more than that. You got to face your own shadows. You see, we keep on looking outside and going, oh, look at all the dark, look at all the shadows.
Yeah.
But are we facing our own?
Are
we facing our own? And
point.
Again, it's the pulling out. It's like, come and look at this car crash scene. Come and look at this tragedy. Come and look at this doom thing that's happening. Come and look at this. Come and look at that. Come and over here. It's like some sort of. But actually, the work is here. It's here, and it's so uncomfortable that, of course, we're trying to fix, change, move, search, get there, know so that we don't have to go and look at that part of ourselves that we feel shame about, or that we pushed away.
What we detract ourselves from,
Because trust me, this is also uncomfortable, but the very things we hate on the outside are probably running inside. And this is the icky, tricky stuff. So this brings us back to the energy that we were going to talk about. You were going to say
I just wanted to quickly, a hippie shake again. Thank you, Sea Lightning. Nice to see you. And Squirrel is there. I wonder if Alex Michael
made it back in.
Hi, family, says JT, Roden, Boston Bear. Nice to see you, brother. And glad to hear that Amelia Jane is doing well. Run Boston Bear has a new flat earther, child, has joined us, a new soul. So congratulations all around there, brother. DJ Emo is here, and Memorial
Gardens.
Nice to see you, Nathan.
Angela, baby.
We got Mighty Adam. Nice to see you, bro. Yeah. Thanks for spelling Azizi's name correctly, Alexander. Bass Ackwards, nice to see you, mate. You're a busy guy with your guitar and
Dr. La was in the earlier.
Oh yeah, Dr. La was there. Yeah. Thank you for you being there.
Oh, there is Alex.
He's there, Alex Michael. Yo.
Oh, and Greg.
Hey, Greg. Nice to see you, Glyph. I don't know if it's the right moment, but that little shindig that Conspiracy Music Guru is hosting in September 20th, 21st September. It's going to be like 4 days, really. I'm gonna try and massage it a couple of days at his place, the Saturday, Sunday, but the Friday get together and the Monday get out together or whatever. Beach day, and Andrew and I are talking about maybe running a little retreat in the days preceding that at a really nice Airbnb type venue that would be suitable for the numbers of people that would be interested. But yeah, so we've got this thing happening in Spain, and there's going to be some interesting people there. Some people that you'd be quite interested to meet, and I've had a number of friends say, Jason Disbury being one of them, say that they'd be interested. We saw mate Joe up in Liverpool yesterday. He's keen as mustard to come. Simon over in Norfolk, who we're doing the Flat Earth Hangout with on Thursday in 3 weeks, on the 17th of April, in Norfolk, Durham. There's a flyer out, and please contact me if you want any information on any of that stuff. But so yeah, and I don't know if Alex wants to say it, but he got a confirmation from someone who I think a lot of people would like to meet, but I don't know if I'll say it until he does, because that's really his call. Anyway, so that's that. Welcome to the stream, and sorry for the earlier technical issues. It's Friday night, and the energy has been pretty mad. As I said, we have had a few outings. Went to Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, if I can just spend a few minutes talking about it, because it is my thing. We are in the sort of final days of what they call an eclipse window. So we had, and obviously there's the sort of more logical side to what an eclipse is, but I'm coming in from a evolutionary, in terms of transformational, energetics, spiritual, electromagnetic, from that sort of perspective, from their sort of intuitive spiritual perspective. And that's a whole nother conversation about what the eclipse represents in terms of all of that. But a really simple way of looking at it is you're eclipsing something out and you're eclipsing something in. And obviously the lunar eclipse tends to be the more difficult one. That's the letting go, because it's the full moon, and then we go into the 2 weeks of the purge of the moon, or the letting go of the moon, and that's the opportunity to eclipse something out. And then we move into the new moon, which is actually tomorrow, the 29th, and we have a solar eclipse, and we're eclipsing something in. In other words, we're planting a seed. Now, that will then unfold for the individual over the next 6 months until we hit the next eclipse, which, interestingly enough, is the 2 weeks before Alex Michael's event, and actually the solar eclipse is on the weekend of the 21st of September.
There you go. There's a solar eclipse on that weekend, Alex.
So it'll
I bet you already knew that.
It will be an opportunity to allow something in, a seed, and maybe meeting some new people, or having a different perspective, or letting something go that you decided you no longer want in your life. But if we focus back to now, so
just to say, Angela Baby says that she felt the eclipse. I mean, we've been feeling like some pretty intense energies. And by the way, just before we continue and lose the slot, it's Andy Kaufman who has given Alex the green light that he'd like to come along.
And for people who don't know who
party.
Andy Kaufman is, which probably most people do, he is a
viral. No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
Viral,
well, he's certainly
like he was like one of the first people that I heard, with all the degrees and the bells and the whistles from the academia, that was going, no, there's something seriously wrong here. So, much respect to him, and because he was a bit of a lone voice, I think, for me anyway. In the early days, there wasn't a lot of people around.
But he's definitely got a
he's
place
carved
in there.
quite a niche for himself in the truth of space. And heck, if he, and I know he's been going to a couple of high-profile and Acapulco type things, and so he's obviously run into some seasoned truthers, and in the case of perhaps Flat Earth, maybe that's why he's willing to. He's already come across the music guru's content, and seeing
Well,
Alex
he's
on a blue screen probably convinced him that NASA were faking.
He's definitely a regular on Alphabetic,
Mm.
and I know that he's a Kelly Brogan counterpart. But can I go back to the
you
energies?
go back. Yeah. Do you want me to switch to the?
You might as well, because we can then see something now.
Now that, because we had technical issues, and so
it's
the
not
page that
set
you
up.
should be seeing is not coming up.
Okay.
I think it is now. Let me just make that big. And then what you can do, honey, is we can go back there, and then you can use your mouse. Whoops. Why are we seeing all of that?
I don't know, but
let's do this trick. So I think you can just hold on, guys. Now,
I just needed to go down a little bit. That's all. Okay. Otherwise, it's fine like it is.
Okay, they should be able to see that now. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
So you can use your mouse pointer to show people what you're talking about.
All right.
So it's really important to kind of be able to see
I'm not going to get too heavy into it, because obviously it requires a deeper understanding of it. But I just want to give it.
But in broad brush, because troglodytes like myself do not necessarily understand this. But in basic terms, that this big wheel here with the outer sort of segment, this is telling us what is the star sign, the zodiac. The zodiac. So there's the 12 apostles.
Or the archetypes.
The 12 archetypes.
Yeah.
From Aries to.
Yeah, well, Aries. Well, Aries is here, but actually Aries rules the first house, which starts here. Yeah. So really, there's a rulership for each house, and it starts obviously number one being Aries, all the way around to Pisces.
Just by the way.
Oh, sorry. So starting the Aries rules the first house, which is the house of self, and then it would move around the zodiac sign to Pisces, which would rule the 12th house. But this is my chart, so.
And every one of us is born under a unique, musical tone that is determined by place and time, down to the minute, pretty much. And
I think so many factors. It's the energetics of your mother and father. There's just so much, and it's such a beautiful a blueprint. It's a beautiful insight. It's a beautiful opportunity to get some understanding or understanding. Or for me, it was just like, wow, to really be seen, and to give me the opportunity to really lean into something rather than be in resistance, like, why is this happening? So that's why knowing the transits is so important to me, because if there's an energy on a particular day, I can lean into it. Not always, sometimes it gets a little messy, but we can lean into it rather than be like, oh, I just feel moody, I just feel this, and if I know, then I can.
And Andrea has been doing this for a few years now, and maybe 5 years, and
2018 I started getting
7 years then. Yeah. Okay, so but we're sort of gotten stronger over the last years, where particularly where we've been on the road and we're going through a particular moment and stuff, and when she tells me what the energies are up to in the sky or in the ether above us, it kind of makes sense, and in a way can assuage your your sense of, oh my goodness, why am I feeling so shite? And actually that shite feeling can pass by the afternoon. And if you look at the transits meaning things moving through particular spaces.
Yes, so you'll see here these green. I've got more than just the average here, because I really enjoy looking at what they would call asteroids, but I believe they're spiritual points, or they're goddesses or gods, or whatever you want to, whatever feels right to. But obviously you've got the Mars and the Jupiter and Uranus and Chiron, the Sun. So the green around the outside is the transits that are currently in play for everybody, but this is just according to my chart. So it's how it's affecting particular parts of my life, and each house represents part of your life, basically. And the lower half is more about self, and the upper half is more about the outer world. all the way down to the 12th house, which is very connected to the outer realms, in other words, a spiritual connection. And obviously the blue and red, those are aspects that are happening for me specifically, but I won't go into any of that. I want to talk more about the current energy at the moment. And so you can see, if you look here, how heavy this action is here.
So those green things represent, each of those little green symbols represent the major luminaries. Right?
Yeah, yes. And like I said, I've thrown in a few, like you got Ceres, you got Pallas Athena, there is it's over, I don't know where Lilith is at the moment. Can't see her. Anyway, you've got, and in here I've got my Vesta and my Pallas Athena. I'm interested in how those goddesses or those archetypes or those spiritual points are also interplaying for me. That's a part I really enjoyed. But to just get to simplify it to the moon and to the north node, which is important, because the north node and the south node represent what eclipse energy is around, and therefore what area of your life. It's really, eclipses, they used to be seen as something bad and you'd fear them, and actually now the eclipse window is this sort of this chance for change in the most intense kind of a way. It's like on steroids. And so that's why you'll feel that intensity. Obviously, again, some people feel it more than others. It depends on how connected you are to your body, because you are the cosmology, you're the micro of the macro. And it depends on where it is for you and what it's aspecting. So there's a whole lot of things that it can affect. But tomorrow's solar eclipse is in Aries. It's the last one in Aries, I think, for sort of 30 odd years, because it's the north node and south node are in archetypes for 18 months to 2 years, and then after they've done a loop, they'll flip over. So whereas we've got Aries, and it has been Aries and Libra, Aries in the north node, Libra, when they flip over, it'll be Libra in the north node and Aries. So, but anyway, the Aries and the Libra archetype, they represent the self and relationship. So we've got our last one in that sort of area in our lives, self and relationships, and that's all kinds of relationships. So and then of course that will depend on where it's hitting your chart, but there's more.
Actually, Hippie says she has her birth chart but doesn't know how to read it.
Well, Hippie, I'd love to read it for you. So if you're happy to either send it to me, or we could have a Zoom call, and I will certainly point out what I can. I'd love to do that for you as an exchange for all the hard work you do. You do for us.
Nice. But you can also, if other than Hippie, you could also contact Andrea for a reading.
Totally.
She does have a link tree with all of that information on for doing readings.
Yeah, I think if you haven't, I mean, obviously you need your birth time. There are some astrologers who can do it without birth times, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
But just to add to the eclipse, so we also have 2 retrogrades, a Mercury retrograde and a Venus retrograde. And Venus has just moved into Pisces from Aries. It started in Aries and it's moved into Pisces. In that time, it's also gone over Neptune. The reason these are all significant is Venus is obviously rules relationships, both outward and inward, our relationship with ourselves, but also money and love. And so there's a big review around that. So if stuff's coming up around that, that will probably be the retrograde. There's also a Mercury retrograde, which is in Aries, but is going to move into Pisces and will also cross over Neptune. And that is also, they call Mercury the messenger of the gods. So it's informing you. It's informing you of the stuff that's going on.
Where's Mercury?
So Mercury is currently over there.
Yeah.
That is Neptune there. Neptune is literally like smidgens away from moving into Aries. It's not quite.
These are moving this way.
Yeah, he's
These
moving
are moving,
this way.
believe it or not, these are moving anti-clockwise around this clock.
Yes, but obviously
So
Mercury's in a retrograde, so it's busy moving back here.
slowing
and
against
you
the
can
turning clock.
Yeah, you can see Venus has just moved in there. Now, why that's also significant is Pisces is normally the final part of the clock normally. So Pisces is very much about completion. Pisces is about the waters. It's healing. It's mystical. It's a washing away of stuff that we no longer want to carry. So the review of Mercury and Venus going in there is an opportunity for, and you'll feel it because it's the waters. So it's a feely kind of energy. So that shifted yesterday, and I definitely felt it. I didn't realize it was going on, and then it was like, okay, that makes sense.
Is that why you were like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell. I tell you what, there is in fact, there are these calendars you can get that will say, don't do this now, do it then in that space, because there are genuinely, and one of the things about flat Earth is the realization that this entire system, this entire, electromagnetic pulsing organism is giving off certain things, harmonies that are going to be resonant or dissonant.
I like to think of all these archetypes that they're like our guardian angels, and they're like our mentors. They're guiding us on this journey that we've come here to, and that's another thing about our charts is that some of the stuff that you experience is already in your chart. So that when you're born, it's already written. So and all of it's for our expansion, all of it's for our growth, all of it's for this journey and what we've come here to grow into, or the transformation. And more specifically at this time, this is a massive time in terms of astrology and energetics and the earth and consciousness.
Is it honestly? Because I mean, I love that sound, but it's people could say that in 1972 or 2000.
No,
1999.
I do. I think we've reached such a pivotal point. I think it's a really, really incredible time.
It is. I mean, in my view, it is. But it's awesome to have it kind of represented in the luminaries and the energetics.
Oh, there's such big things going on in the sky at the moment, and Neptune moving on Sunday. Neptune's the great dissolver. It's it can be illusion, but it can also be show you where your illusion is, and it's the dissolving of the ego. It wants you to come back to your spiritual nature, so it can be a bit of a taskmaster. And that's moving into Aries, the warrior, the initiator, the forward mover, on Sunday, and it's the first time in 14 years. So I think when I reflect now on 2011, it was a massive
for us
pivot for us,
yeah.
And I wonder if you can all look back at 2011 and see how that played out for you.
Once things started falling into alignment such that you would end up on the journey you're on.
And so Neptune has been very much in that sort of spiritual, like, let me dissolve what is taking you away from your spiritual or your highest nature. And then Aries is about embodying that. Now you're gonna take action on that. You're gonna live it. You're gonna manifest it into your life.
So Andrew has been saying, we need to be setting seeds of intention now, right?
Well, certainly for this eclipse that's coming up, the eclipse is when it's a solar eclipse on a new moon. You want to set intentions for the next 6 months. So and be very intentional about it. And your highest intention and intention. call it out,
Call it in.
call it in or call it out to the heavens. But it's like, we tend to play small because that's the ego again. It's like we can't have it, but really put it out there. And that Aries energy is going to feel really like let's go. And of course, with Neptune moving into Aries, is going to be that energy too. We've got Saturn in a month's time moving into Aries, so lots of Aries energy. But one last little aspect I want to talk about, which has also maybe come up for people, is, and I think this is played into the flat Earth and
fracture.
Yeah, the uneasiness is that. Firstly, Mars went into retrograde in December, early December, round about the time that they went on that trip in Cancer. And Cancer is, it's security, it's the mother, it's Earth, which is very interesting. And it went into retrograde, and Mars is that Aries energy again. It's about self. But it went to retrograde, so it went backwards, and it went from Leo into Cancer. Mars hates Cancer. It does not feel comfortable in Cancer and it doesn't like retrogrades, because Mars wants to move forward. It wants to take action, and it's been in this watery, feely, and so you've got the anger, resentment, frustration element in a Cancer, which is very feely, and it's all about home and mother and earth and security. Of course, it depends on where it is in your chart. That also makes a difference. But to add to that, this week it's been square. Now, a square is never comfortable. It's a tension in the heavens or in the sky. It's been square to Chiron, and Chiron is our shamanic healer. It's like we're going to heal deeply. So that Mars in Cancer square Chiron in Aries you would have felt
Crunchy.
that frustration, maybe resentment may have come up.
Feels a little bit like
anger,
that for me, actually.
Just not
a little
comfortable
on the crabbier side, but that could And well, one of is it fair to say that one of the things about the astrology is that because we each have our own unique blueprint, and mine could be completely different from the next person. It may be that certain alliances in the lights in the sky are beneficial to me, but not to someone else. But the other way around could be true, and that's right. Doesn't particularly sit well for me because of my signs and
that's your blueprint. But remember, you're your own energetic being that have taken on energies from your mother and your father. So that's how you're different. You might have, because someone would say, oh, well, what about the person who's born exactly the same minute as you? Well, really, it depends on where they are, in terms of where they're placed. But say it was a person right in the hospital next to you. They still don't have the same mother and father. Don't have the same. Yeah. They aren't getting the same akashic or the same DNA or whatever you want to call it.
It's just I'm mindful that when we're talking about, say, having a crunchy week, someone else might be listening, going, you know what, this was one of the best weeks of my life. I just got married, or I just had this thing happen to me. Blah blah blah. JT, his daughters, just starting to go gurgle and stuff like that, and it's all great. And so you may not notice, or it may not be that this is, you know what I mean, because I don't want to make this sense that, oh well, it's crunchy for me, and that's what I see in the skies, and therefore it must be that for everyone.
I'd love people to write a comment. Has there been a moment where it's felt a little tricky and you haven't realized it was the astrology? No, but this is it. We all make it. Oh, it's just this. It's just that. It's just that person there. It's just it's always something else. And this is the beautiful thing about astrology, is that when you realize that there are firstly these energies going on, and you are having that moment, and I tend to believe that everybody is being affected by it. Now, where it is in your chart, and a whole lot of other things, like what is it in alignment with? There's so many things that could be affecting
That's right. So it's not like a clear slam dunk, for everybody, because But although I get that there are meta stories in the, in the out there, in the electromagnetics, the unique, and so they may affect most people at one given time or another, like the eclipses or something.
But also see it this way: the eclipse is to eclipse something out. So it's like, and sometimes it's like I'm decided to move house. It may not be.
Nathan.
It might be to move house, but also when the moon is in its letting go phase, then it's opportunity to purge something. And I'm not going to tell people how they need to feel about that. We all some of us feel more
but what
than
if
others.
you know that if you know that it's an opportunity to purge something, that's what it's for, then we could use it to that end. I'm sure some people with that knowledge are possibly doing that.
Well, the eclipse is purging times 1,000. So it's like a really, really, really powerful opportunity, rather than it's like, oh no, this is happening. That's the thing about astrology, is it's like, this is happening for me. This is not happening to me. It doesn't mean it feels comfortable some of the time. And in fact, purging or letting go, the ego doesn't really like. It wants it to stay in the familiar uncertainty. It doesn't want you to let go of.
Why are the cards that I've been dealt? But that's maybe the hand that you're meant to play. And maybe we shouldn't be second guessing it all the time. But still, because the thing is, just like you were saying earlier on about if you carry victim mindset about apartheid, and and I know that there is injustice still that is a shadow from 30 years, 40, 50 years ago. But if you carry that victim state, then that perpetrator still is owning
exactly.
you.
But you see, people think that if I say I'm going to let that go and I'm going to heal and I have a choice of how I'm going to live my life, then we think that with the ego doesn't like that, and also there's this like, oh well, I'm letting them off the hook. Well, if you're saying that, then you're still actually attached to some emotion where you want that person to pay for it, and I understand that. Totally.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to see Fauci swinging from a string? And all the cast of characters, wouldn't that be great? I honestly don't actually. I've never written that down or never really truly wished that. The cast of characters that were given, from Adolf to Churchill to whoever, Roosevelt, the guy who took over from JFK, the cast of characters are really just actors on a stage in a way. Horrific as the things that, as I said earlier, horrific things have been done in this theatre, and they continue to be done. But these are really just actors in the play, and you can.
But have these things that happened, have they wanted you to make change? Once you saw these horrific things were happening, you no longer were just a bystander in your life. You stepped in, and you still continue because it's a journey, but you stepped into your power. And I always say that they are not taking our power. We are giving it to them.
Yeah.
When I have that choice about whether I am or not, then I am no longer the victim. But that doesn't mean I don't have to go through all the whole process of healing, of grieving, of being angry, and all those things. But when because what, this is also just a view that sometimes these even these things that happen to, awful things that have happened, how do I know that they aren't not playing, they haven't agreed to come and have that as their journey, so as to be part of this great reveal, to be part of this. We talk about the Great Reset, but this is like
it's a bitter pill, but
well, Great Reset's been loaded now, because it's like, okay, they're performing the Great Reset. What if it's our great remembrance? And actually, that we are so attached to that experience that person had when once they're free of their body, they are back in
back
love.
home. Yeah,
they're back in love.
Yeah.
And
There is no
but
death.
but what purpose did their lives have to show us something?
I have to accept that possibility is what it was always designed to be, and that horrific psychopaths or whatever, or people, were to rise to some sort of power, either whether that be in the house setting, and it's horrible things on children, and or in the battlefront, or in the economic sphere, or in the using people, destroying people's lives in so many different ways. That it's kind of that was meant to be there, like that for me is one of the hardest parts to swallow.
I know,
about that.
which
is why I don't feel like in this lifetime I can jump wholeheartedly into that concept, because it's not that I struggle to exonerate or to let them off the hook or whatever, because I, if someone, I would want.
Listen,
Yeah,
it can be
really
both, right? It can be both,
but
but how do you step into your power unless you see that someone is behaving in a way that's not authentic, and that's going to become, I think that's the great reveal is part of that. It's the more and more you are aware of it, and the more and more you are trusting your intuition, and you're more connected to self, and you're more sovereign. And I don't mean the paperwork, I mean like really truly in your soul. The more that you won't be part, you won't be part of it. You won't consent to it. You won't give them agency, but you're not. It's like my sister, who is not well at the moment, and a whole lot of things have happened to bring her to this point, and it's incredibly uncomfortable and incredibly hard right now. But it's such a pivotal turning point for her. Well, the invitation to make it that is there for her, and she's stepping into it. But that would not have been happening if it didn't get to that point.
And I mean, I can't like say, oh well, it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way. I feel it's one of those things that I've got to keep an open mind about, even though one or two of those options really makes me feel uncomfortable. So, this is imagining a scenario where we wanted to have a life experience in which we were going to be put through various tortures. Let's say the word comes up, tortures. Various tortures, and because obviously my tortures are not tests, but some I haven't had the horrific tests that some people have had.
You've had a couple recently that actually, now that you've gone through them and you've grown from them.
I guess my mind is more like on young people being traumatized in extreme ways. I know obviously most of us go to school, and corporal punishment, and parents affected by post World War II, post-Victorian kind of stuff and so on. So all of that, but I just know that there are young people that have to grow through real. I don't understand at the soul level why someone would need to have such vast discomfiture. And maybe even, as we see, sometimes their life doesn't even get through teenage years and so on, and then it's snuffed out. And so, from the human point of view, that seems horrific. From the God, soul, higher self point of view, that's like, okay, that was just that was the taste I needed. That was the little piece of experience I needed, and I might go back in again or something. Anyway, that just for me is really
I think also
a tough one to
we want to, and it's maybe just something that's built into us, that we think that everyone's journey needs to be the same. And I mean, if astrology does anything for me, it's to show that our journeys are very different. We might all have the same destination, but we've all come here to experience different things with a collective intention, I think. But we're all very different. But I need to make this clear. I'm not for a second saying, oh, what's happening on the outside is like, oh, it's okay. That's not what I'm saying.
Do all these horror things.
Yeah,
so
that's not what I'm.
The youngsters can
saying.
have their soul, the growth of their soul and so on. Because when you drive around cities and you see, like I was in Liverpool yesterday, and there's like right by this grand, late 1800s facade of some incredibly built building by people with horse and cart and blah blah blah. Probably got like 1600s underneath it and so on. There on this building, inside of a bush, was 2 or 3 like little scrabby one-man tents with, obviously homeless folks living in there and so on. And this is the crazy world that we live in which we got that. And then I see like this. I don't know if I showed it to you, but there's this girl, 9-year-old, in hospital in America, diagnosed with some rare condition, brain kind of condition, that her family has run into like a few $1 million of medical bills and stuff like that. And the kindly Elon Musk had heard about this story and has he's paid all the family's outstanding bills and gifted them or allowed them to have like first access to the Neuralink, because this Neuralink will offer the possibility of this girl getting an implant. And so this agenda of moving us to transhumanism doesn't feel like that was necessary. It's hard for me to believe that was meant to happen.
But can I no, I'm not. You know me. I'm not into this like it's all fake kind of thing, because I think that some things really happen. But how effective is that whole story? Hero, little girl. It's very powerful, isn't it? It's very, very powerful to just get you to believe. It's a narrative, but what are they using to get you to believe?
Emotion.
Exactly. They're illusion. So it's all that little girl that's vulnerable.
Well, no.
It's
I know, absolutely.
We all want the savior.
Absolutely.
He's the savior. He's going to come and save this little girl.
Mankind. He's
and look, I'm going to offer them an opportunity to have this technology that's going to transform their lives.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, which is obviously, I totally get you on that, and I don't disagree. What I think though is that, pardon me, that there has been this I think we probably all agree that there has been this significant increase over the years, and particularly in the last few years, of all-cause mortality, and actually a reduction in the average age lifespan. And one of the things I wondered about with the Afghan war, particularly, where there was all these IEDs that were dreadful weapons, and so mowing British and American and Australian and other soldiers, mowing them down, taking off one leg, one arm, 2 legs perhaps. And one of the things, as I became a deeper conspiracy theorist, I realized that what this was doing was creating a huge emphasis, need, emotional need, justification for vast expenditure and investment on artificial limbs. And I might sound a bit cynical, but what if there were one of the kind of intended side benefits of that was that we would all of a sudden have a whole lot of amputees in the world, America, here in Europe, who were, the perfect kind of trial subjects for taking robotic human parts to the next level, the integration between robot and human to the next level. And when I saw this little girl, and I thought, wow, rare, she looked so healthy, but was all wired up, and a rare thing. And it's like, well, where did that rare thing come from? Because for me, the Faucis and the fools of this world could well be the reason why, and intended to create little people who would, and older people, but people who would be in a condition such that everyone with a beating heart would say, yes, well, if you've got some technology that can give this little girl her life back, or some modicum of self-control, then wouldn't you take that? Wouldn't you want that for your child?
I think the people are being played. I honestly think in this case, and we've got very Neptunian energy at the moment. I think there is some major playing. It's creating a narrative that, remember, they need our creative power. You get to choose. I think this is sovereignty. Sovereignty is conscious choice, and you get to choose whether you create with this falsehood or you get to create with God. And you get to choose. Now, the moment you say people don't have choice, you're making them a victim. Everybody has choice. Now, do they know they have a choice?
No.
Are they being fooled?
Yeah.
Yes. But people have a choice. We have a conscious choice. This is why the work is so important, because when we start to realize who we are, then we know that we have a choice. When we realize how beautiful our body is in healing itself.
The work on self. Yeah.
Or even that we know that there is someone trying to do us harm, and we can go, oh, actually, no, you don't get to do that to me, or no, I'm not gonna choose to have that. I'm gonna choose to have this instead. So I think that choice is a really important thing, and we have to be so mindful, which is why we go back to intuition and discernment. And you can only have that when you know thyself, when you're really, really connected to yourself. Then you're not trying to figure it out in your head, that you're connected to your body, mind, whether something feels true and authentic, or something feels like you're being manipulated.
Yeah. Do you think that Neuralink is real? Do you think that they can implant brain chips that can?
I think they could get us so far down the line that we absolutely bring it into reality.
I think. I mean, I know, for example, like with hearing aids, they used to just be like an external thing. Now they fit something inside of your skull that's connecting to things. And yeah, I mean, maybe I'm being.
See, I think there's duality in technology. I think there's duality in technology, and so there's the good and the bad. I mean, people who have those cochlear implants, and they have they give them the opportunity of hearing.
Yeah.
So this is not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
But I guess and I kind of in a way would have and probably still am sort of cheering for some advancement that means that somebody who was perhaps disabled from a spinal injury is able to walk again, kind of thing. That would be awesome for them. And I don't know that we just need to necessarily accept our lot and go, well, I'm going to be disabled.
But I'm not going to allow someone like Elon Musk to put something in my head.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is the thing, is that obviously, the technology, just like we're actually using today, we're using a Starlink hookup, which obviously we don't believe what they tell us it is, but and so the technology that he is the face of, I don't believe that he's designing this technology, but he's the face of it. It does have, just like the technology we're using now, it does have some powerful benefits. However, where the rubber hits the road with this is that if I've intentionally created the problem and made you sick, and now I'm offering you my Neuralink, that's like me, being the poacher and the gameskeeper or whatever. I can't be, and so that's where I have a problem with it. Is that I used to think that technology and advancement was all good, and in a way it is, but it's like what's sitting behind it, and what is is there this nefarious agenda to hook everybody up to some kind of implant and so on. And if so, just like with COVID, I suspect that, and what you would want to say is that there's still going to be choice, although the popular choice will be to go along and line up for a needle.
Why?
Or a
Why
thing.
though?
Because
Because
people are
we learn very
Yeah.
young that obedience
Yeah.
is going to mean I'm safe. So I have compassion for people who did that. I mean, we have family members who did that, and so for me, it's not like, oh, you're stupid or whatever. It's that they were acting on a very young trauma, which is like I'm so programmed, or I'm so used to doing what I'm told because that way
Yeah.
I'm going to be safe.
Yeah.
What it makes me think about that thing we listened to the other night, that guy from Inspired, so I don't know who he is, what his name is.
Gene Nolan.
He was
John
talking
Nolan.
a little bit about conscious money, which I tend to agree with. Money is not bad. In fact, when money is used for good, and that's the reality is that we live in a construct where money is the form of exchange. And when it's used for good, money is not bad. And I think this is the same for technology. Now, some people could say, oh, Elon's doing good. Don't. My gut, my intuition says, and so that's where you got to like trust yourself. Just like people, even my sister, she was she was hearing like a voice in her, and I'm not talking about she was hearing voices, but say, don't do it. But she, her mind overrode that, and she did, and it's had health consequences. So I think that's why I said it's duality, because there's the dark and the light, there's the good and the bad, and so it's like not saying, oh well, we don't want any technology. No, we know that. I know of a guy who he's had a road accident, a young 18-year-old, and he his parents aren't able to pay for, also in the States, pay for the high insurance and all the costs to rehabilitate him. So he's being rehabilitated at home, and luckily they've had kind people donate. And one of the things they've donated is these hand gloves that actually will move his fingers for him, so that he and they look like something out of some sort of sci-fi movie. So yeah, I think in many ways there are things that certainly when it comes to our skeletal system, there's some incredible bits of technology. If someone told you to put wood on the fire,
Yeah, Nathan. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Liz the Iron Maiden. Yeah, nice to see you again. Mighty Atom, see Lightning, and see Jolly Man. Yeah, nice to see you, Roy. Red Herring Media, nice to see you. And like the comment, I suppose the darker it gets, the brighter we can alchemize our inner shine, or something to that effect. And it does feel like that. Hey, it's like that yin and yang. It's like the darker it gets in entropy, it has to be lighter on the other side, and
or of the balance there.
And even like even in the extreme, and I don't want to be like, I'm not a doomsdayer, gloom and doomer kind of thing, although obviously I consider all possibilities. But I do think that like that there is such, it seems to me that there is such darkness out there. It is trying to sow that darkness, and Andrew is right. The darkness out there is not something we can necessarily change. You're in a dark room, you can't change the room. You can be a light in the room, and that's
you can be with your fear of the dark in the first place.
Yeah,
the fear of the dark too. In the first place.
That's an important one.
And actually, maybe that illuminates the light.
Yeah. And then the darkness, in a way, has to kind of, there has to be like a Sodom and Gomorrah eventually, you know. But maybe it's like, yeah, but you were sent to Disneyland during the time that they had the rodeo thing or the Space Mountain thing, and you were meant to ride those rides at that time, not wait for next season when they're going to kind of get rid of that and put like Barbie or whatever. You know, that you've got to ride the races that the tracks that are there now, and that's where we're at now. And can you rise to that now? And as I've said many times, you know, and I think if it was just all teacup rides, you know, we'd be bored as hell. You know, we'd be like, well, what the hell did I set this game up for? It's like teacup rides all day long. I want something a little bit more kind of challenging, you know. So maybe that's where we're at, is that's and our gift, if you like, or our gift is that we can see so much of the machinations behind the ride. You know, there's that one at Disneyland called It's a Small World After All. I went through it many years ago, and they play this song. I'm sure it's probably some kind of brainwashing. It's a small world after all. And you go around all these different countries represented on a boat ride. And you can see the machines, then you know that it's fake and it's all greasy and there's black parts.
But you can still have fun.
Well, you can still have fun, yeah.
I have to say, I think that sometimes that's part of the dance between the light and the dark. It's the same with the emotions, right? If you have one, there is the opportunity to have the other, the contrast. And you know, we can get caught up in the heaviness of it. And there's a time for contraction and there's a time for expansion. And time for dark, time for light.
Yeah, I'm reminded about Mighty Adams' ex and the MND, motor neuron disease. Good thoughts to you, bro. And yeah, methylene blue. I don't know if I've never seen anything connected with that, but anyway.
Well, actually, Parkinson's. It works with Parkinson's, so I can't. It would definitely be if it was something that was willing to be considered. I don't think
methylene blue.
You know, I think when you've been given that death sentence, it's worth trying anything. Yeah. Quite frankly,
and if you are going to source it, we know like a good American supplier, you know, because you do need to have a high quality.
Yeah, actually, I went and had my eyes tested. I mean, they did put it down to my age, but my eyes improved. So I'm giving that a tick to methylene blue. But good, just to go back to the motor neuron disease, I know that there is some thoughts around it being parasites or funguses. So if again it's the right opportunity or time or you know if there's an opening for that, then parasite cleanses and those kind of things.
What if, you know, most of our physical ailments are parasitic in nature? It's something I am toying with.
Well, they're parasitic in nature, but they also require damp and dark to live. So if you, for me, it starts again with like those heavy trauma or nervous system.
Yeah. So you're getting a little bit of love from the chat there, my love. Andrea looks a bit like Helen Hunt.
Oh.
Do you know who that is?
Vaguely, yes. I mean, she's not. I don't watch movies anymore, but I think she was more. Helen Hunt was more.
Let's try this because we are trying to be a little bit more.
Yeah, it didn't look like in the beginning, did it? But yeah, we are getting
let's see
better.
here, Helen Hunt. Let's see, Helen Hunt. Oh yeah, okay.
Well, I'll take that one.
Yeah, American actress and director, born 1963. So she's about 10 years your senior. 4 Primetime Emmy Awards. So she's had a similar amount of success as you, Mother, in the thingy sphere. I think I've got to do that. Look at that. We did a little switch from.
Wow, that's progress.
Yeah, we're slowly going to.
Yeah, every week it is our goal to make it become a little bit better.
Honor you guys and try and. So Samyaza agrees with that. Samyaza is from Canada, but I can't say if I know the gender of that person. Run Boston Bear is doing a live, I think, in 4 hours or 5 hours time. So sub to his channel if you haven't already. He's got a lovely energy about him and a new baby. And he's doing well with 4 children. Mighty Atom, you're a Mormon. Oh, I'm sorry, mate. You can't be in this chat room anymore. That's just not acceptable. Just kidding. all people are welcome. We won't hold it against you, mate. Emotional Lucia, I'm a little bit back in time here with Squirrel Sniper firing a lot in from the dark there. Super Soldiers, just yeah. So who else is here that I haven't said hello to? I have to like drop down. There's actually quite a lot of chat activity going on. Do you guys mind just like?
And there's 28 people
so thanks for the thumbs up.
watching, and so those who aren't commenting, it's good to have you here.
Yeah.
It's really nice for us to hear people say, "Oh, I was watching your live," and yeah, it's good to hear.
I like what Liz the Iron Maiden said about I had hip flexor pain, stopped tomatoes, and the pain went. Interesting. Acidic versus alkaline balance is more important than we realize.
Well, I actually did the same with gluten. I had heel pain. It wasn't plantar fasciitis. It was just the stabbing pain in my heel. And after doing a little bit of research, I realized that it was probably gluten. And so I've been on a very, very low carb diet for a while. Don't intend for it to be permanent. I do know that often when people parasite cleanse, or they certainly sort out their histamine issues, that some of these things that they struggle with go away and they can continue as normal. So it's just about bringing our bodies back into balance, I think, and that includes our nervous systems, which tend to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and survival. And I think we're functioning survivalists. It's such a normal way of being. I know for me, freeze is such a normal way of being. I'm aware of it now, so it doesn't feel so normal anymore. And so being able to go into rest and digest is when we heal, and it's when we can take in nourishment, and when we feel balanced and in harmony. So
yeah, a couple of good comments in the chat about some stuff that people are doing for detoxing. Red Herring Media saying we're constantly detoxing the best that we can. Sammy Oz says, the jolly man, that's because your government loves you and has your best interest at heart. Cough, cough. Yeah, that reminds me of that. Liz the Iron Maiden is 67 and didn't want to be a little old lady giving up on life. Dreaming big comes with a cost. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what we were saying at that time, but
well, if it was anything to do with dreaming, I don't tend to agree with dreaming big comes at a cost. I think that I think we only have such a small capacity for what is available, and actually what we have right now is probably the lowest that is available to us, and there's just so much more than we can even get our head round. And I think that we have forgotten, and this time is the remembrance, where we're remembering who we are, and little by little, and it does take interestingly, it takes calibrating or cultivating the ability to hold energy, because we are these electromagnetic beings. So when we are more open, and to be open, we have to have our heart open, which most of us have armored because of our trauma. And to do that feels incredibly vulnerable. And often that's when we see the shutdown and the open and the shutdown. Some people don't even open it. It's just completely, and through that is where I think we manifest, and the love, and then inject the money and the capacity to hold that massive, expansive. Because I think we are these massive, expansive beings, but we are incredibly small and shut down. And this time of remembrance is our opportunity to start to cultivate and learn how to be more open, and how to hold more energy, and how to expand more, and the possibility and what is available to us. I don't even think we scratch the surface.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's magnificent, the potential that we possess. And there has to be. Think about it, like the extent to which every facet of this reality has been shaded or colored by
experience.
Experience, but like more the soup that's been created for us to exist in, our sense of master and servant, who we are, what we really are, what we are beyond this avatar and this 3D realm. What we are beyond
That's
this
why.
is so monumentally magnificent that if we were to truly walk in that magnificence, we would probably glow like they said that Jesus did, or like.
But can you not see how massive the expansion is if you do?
Yeah,
Because
no, well,
it's like
totally,
it's like that seed that's in that really heavy soil. If it can push itself out,
mind that pen doesn't push itself into my eyeball.
Sorry, that if it can push itself out, the beauty of what could be
is something else. And actually, but what I'm kind of wanting to say is that I don't equate that necessarily to material gain. Will material gain manifest by such brilliance? Yes. Will material gain become less significant? Probably that too. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we shouldn't value ourselves based on our material gains and what we have gathered around us in the material world, like the trinkets and the cars and the houses and stuff like that. I don't think that's it. However, it's not to say that, we find this light and what we want to do is eschew anything material and wear sackcloths and live in a cave.
I disagree.
And
I think if you want to drive a Porsche, why not?
Well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Are you not listening? I was saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that that's what you should strive for, is like to live in a cave with sackcloths. That's like the extreme. That's the oscillation. That's the going to the other side and going, well, I see all of that bling, and I want to be on the furthest end of the spectrum from that. I think the intention is for us to live in a modicum of comfort and not discomfort. It is actually the discomfort and sometimes the financial shortcomings that cause us so much external stress, and we put that onto our children, who then perpetuate that.
I think if something brings you joy, like a car or a house or whatever, then it's meant. I think this is more about what is the intention. Is it an expansive lifting you up, or is it not? Because we know plenty of people with lots of material, and they're not happy. It's more about how.
And we know lots of people without material who are very happy. And
so it's not about the material. It's about what you make that material mean to you.
Yeah. I mean, but those people that are happy without huge material wealth would welcome if you said, look, I've got like a your energy or your service or your talent or whatever will now bring you something more, a bigger house or a more comfortable something. They would accept that. They would take that. I don't know. Sometimes you can end up losing your happiness, but I won't go off on that tangent. But yeah, well, so I mean, for me, the overriding message is that it's good to. I think it's good to know what's going on in the world. It's good to have a pulse on what's going on in the world, but do not be consumed with what's going on in the world, and do not allow what's going on in the world to consume you. That is an entrapment. But I think, as you were saying, that these things, if they're evoking that emotion, then that emotion is there for you to work through. I think that
it could be love. It could be evoking love. It could also be evoking love. Something on the outside could be, because it could be a friend. It could be that is evoking love. So
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative, but I don't like to make feelings negative or positive. I think they're just energy that wants to move. But yeah, I think if you're being triggered or evoked, which is a much better word,
you like that?
Then it's an opportunity, really.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably nearly an opportunity to talk to the chat room, and
so while you just have a quick look there, so anybody who is interested in the Alex Michael event,
he's probably already gone to bed, the old fart.
Well, it is an hour.
They're an hour ahead.
I suppose it's only 9, 10.
10 in Spain, yeah.
Didn't he say the last time his
Friday
electric blanket goes off at a certain time? Alex Michael likes his comforts. Yeah, so if anybody's interested, to send Dave an email on trinity4man@gmail.com.
We're hoping to have 50 people.
And
some talks, and I'm going to cook some food. Well, like meat fire type, thing. And
well, there will be a veggie option for those people who prefer that. But
it'll be just a fun end of the summer kind of thing, and it really is nice to get together with people.
Yeah, we're kind of using Alex Michael's hospitality and his fame.
We're taking advantage of him, really, I suppose, is what you're trying to say in a nutshell.
And we're doing a We Gather. So if any of you fancy gathering, and then equally, if there's anybody who, if you could show interest in being sort of part of a retreat space.
Dean and Sarah are going to come, they said. Okay. You're going to drive the gypsy down. And that'll be a long haul for her. You might have to set off a week early, just in case. Fantastic. Well, that's really great news. And as we said, it's not actually going to the Alex Michael weekend isn't actually going to cost anything other than
transport and
accommodation. So that's a real score. Alex felt he didn't like the idea of having to charge people to come around to his house, and I think that's spot on.
So it would just be the food and sort of ticket price for food.
And Nathan's going to materialize. It'd be lovely to have you there, Nathan, as well. We had fun with you at that festival last year.
It's a nice time of the year as well in Spain, and the area that he lives in is really chilled and interesting. There is some interesting mountains, which Stellium, Mike, has done a lot of extensive research in, so he can talk
he'll do a talk. No doubt, you wouldn't be able to stop him. Wild horses couldn't stop him from getting on the mic.
He likes a bit of a sing-song too,
He
doesn't
does
he?
like, yeah. I don't know if we'll get the karaoke going. I do hope so, because I do like to make a fool of myself in that setting. Actually, Nathan, we will be down in Horsham in 3 weeks' time, just for a week. So it'd be nice to see you if we can get up.
And obviously,
down.
there's the Norfolk.
The Norfolk
we gather.
Yeah, we gather on the 17th of April.
So if you can make that, it's the Thursday before, I think, the public holiday, Good Friday, if you acknowledge that day.
Yeah, it will be amazing in Spain, Liz, and it'll be lovely to meet you. And of course, it'll be lovely to meet, I know obviously you're in the States, I think so. But yeah, it would be just awesome to kind of, make more friends for yourselves and for ourselves in the because this journey isn't going anywhere. It feels like whatever interesting tricks are coming from Saturn. Is Satan and Saturn, are they linked in your mind?
Yeah, I mean,
whatever whatever things are coming down the pipeline.
I don't know, but Saturn is like the taskmaster.
We are going to want to work with, brothers and sisters of a similar mind. It is what came out from, because in a conversation I had with a lady called Kath at the thing. I didn't film it, but she's like a bit of a stalwart, and she's like one of the faces, I suppose, of the sort of activist movement surrounding the thing that I was focusing on filming on the other day. She was talking about how in their community there is serious fragmentation across the different areas of interest or different groups, and that is unfortunate, because I think that ultimately we probably all agree that the human race, or whatever we are, man, and needs to kind of eventually find its way back together, but that doesn't have to happen right now. And looking at the blank stares in the bull ring, that we're a long way realistically from that, and that's okay. I know that possibly more wars and more things are going to be brought down on us, on the world, and so how do we respond? Are we going to be running around like headless chickens, like some of us were doing during the first year of the lockdowns, not knowing that? Or are we going to be, hey, I'm just going to continue cutting my trees and doing my stuff and raising my own game and stuff? Squirrel Sniper does carved pieces of wood. Did I say that before with the chainsaw?
I think you did.
I did. I can't pump him too much. Of course I can, Nathan. If you want something bespoke carved with chainsaw, then get in touch with Squirrel Sniper. We've got to support each other, and getting together in Spain and Norfolk, and
well, maybe try and squeeze another one in.
I might try and go to the one in Wales. Actually, there's a meetup there next Tuesday. On Tuesday, it's an hour's drive from me, so I might go there. It's one of the ones that Ian sort of started. The one in Bournemouth that we went to.
Okay.
What do they call it?
Flat Earth Social.
Flat Earth Social. I shouldn't forget that. I have a coffee mug from them. Yeah. Okay. Well. Is there any else got any questions? Great stream. You got to run and cook an early dinner. Well, I've also got to run.
Not cook dinner, thankfully.
Thankfully, not cook dinner. Check out all Heavy Shake is doing your links. So there's Andrea's links. She is a coach. She can also add value, or do, if you like, a one-time reading of your star chart. You need to send her. She would send you like what she needs, which is like time, place, blah blah blah. And I believe you do like once you've done all the prep work, you will do like an hour.
Yeah, if I'm doing a formal reading, then I'll obviously look at your chart, and I will then have a one-to-one with you, preferably on face-to-face. So in other words, Zoom. You don't. I mean, if you can be in my company, great. But face-to-face, and that'll be recorded. So you would get that, and then you would get a printed information. I would obviously ask what sort of areas you want to particularly look at, but my focus is on us rising into our fullest expression, and what is still blocking us from that, or our greatest expansion, or our most aligned journey, and what is still holding us back, and where I can see that in our chart, where the opportunities are in our chart. So that tends to be my focus. But if there's a particular area that you want to look at,
thank you. I would definitely check that out. I'm grateful to Hippie for sharing that link, and also she's shared the squirrel sniper carving link. You're very quick.
Yeah, Hippie, you must definitely let me read your chart for you, because you're just.
But get in touch with Andrea, and she will read your chart for you, Hippie. As an energy exchange. I like this question from Iron Maiden Liz saying, are we optimistic about the future in the long term? And she says she is, and I think that we certainly are, we've got to be in the game. They've got to do these things. The tricks have got to be played, It's like, it's being done on purpose in a way, and we can't, but we could still be extremely, like, I think there's so many ways that we can still continue to have enrichment in our lives, despite all of the the machinations of the
for me, it's like, bring it on. It's like, this is exciting, and the possibility that's opening up for my life, because I have, I was just talking to my daughter, who's also been doing this really deep work, and how how different we feel, and how far we've come, and the possibilities that are opening up, and how different we see our lives. So yeah, it's like, this is just the beginning, and I think that this system would love us to think that it's all doom and gloom. They've even told Europe to sort out survival kits.
Actually, I saw that on a newspaper, one of the UK mainstream at the petrol garage today. They put the newspapers out front there, and if I go past them, I'll just have a quick look at what the front page is saying, just to get a gauge of things. And I found that one of them, more like a tabloidy paper, not one of the proper, fold-out newspapers, the Times or the Tory Graph. But this one, the Telegraph, I forget, not the Mirror, but one of them like that. And it had, Brits warned to prepare for World War III. I mean, we may already be in World War III. This may be it, but or it may never materialize in the way that they say it will. But whatever, whatever's coming our way, we need to be robust. We need to be in our neighborhood. We've been saying, like, grow some fruit trees, or do things that are going to make a difference in your life where you are, and improve your emotional, spiritual resilience.
I think it's about being in flow state. It's about being in flow state. So we don't want to feel discomfort, because we give discomfort a meaning. But also, I truly believe that when we're listening, we're deeply connected, the solutions to everything will come. And so that's why this is so important, because it's I think, again, it's also about expansion and contraction, and the truth is, we are going through this massive change, rebirth, death and rebirth, dark night of the soul, and or someone could phrase it the dark night, no, the long dark. But again, it has to be dark to see the light, right? So and that's, you can make that mean anything. And actually the void is one of the best places, the dark is one of the best places to be, because actually then the possibility that comes from that is just massive. When we know, then we're limited. I've never done this before, and I'd really like to do it just because of the eclipse, just to give, and if this doesn't resonate with you, that's absolutely fine. I do it with my clients.
She's whipped her cards out.
And I'd love to do one for all of you. Of course, like I said, if it's not your bag, that's fine. It is being so accurate so far and really resonated. So I'm going to put it, and if it resonates with you, great. So I just shuffle. They are, just so you know, they're called the Rose Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, who lives in Glastonbury. And my question to the cards, or to the energy, is, what message can I send out to all of you lovely people? Would you like to pull one for?
Oh, this is how it works. You've got to pull one out of the magic deck. And
which one's
what's
calling
my
you?
intention?
What's one's calling you?
This one.
Okay. All right. So, wow. Very interesting. I'm going to try and hold it up to the camera, if you can see it. It's so interesting because people will be like, "Oh, that's Illuminati."
Is it?
Well, it's just got the triangle.
Oh.
But it says Sub Rosa, hidden in plain sight, mysteries, learning and teaching. And I'll just read you the meaning behind it.
Mysteries, learning and teaching.
Which is very interesting for this particular time. It says the rose has been a symbol of secrecy for millennia. The ancient Romans wore rose garlands on special occasions, and when they were hung above important meeting places, the conversations that took place beneath were considered sub rosa, or under the rose. It was understood that things said under the rose would be kept secret and not repeated.
Rosicrucians.
There's also an image of the ancient god, Egyptian god Horus, sitting with a rose and holding his fingers to his lips, symbolizing silence about the deep mysteries. The phrase sub rosa may have its origins in ancient Greece, where in 477 BCE, a secret negotiation took place in a building attached to the temple of Minerva, seen on the card. On the building's roof was a rose garden, hence sub rosa. Another otherworldly theory of the phrase's origin is linked to Eros, who is said to have bribed, how do you say that, Harpocrates, the Greek god of silence and secrecy, with a rose to persuade him to remain silent on the affairs of the gods. This card represents the great mysteries that are available for all of us to uncover and remember, secrets that are waiting to be found, teachings that your soul might be ready to learn. Look beyond what your eyes can see and dig a little deeper. You're here to uncover lost wisdom, ancient secrets, and deep mysteries. Are you being called to study the great mysteries, to live the great question, and step into your role as a teacher, guide, or mystic? Are you being called to question things and unearth the truths unknown? And then there's always soul inquiry. What are you being called to study, learn more about, or unearth? So if that resonates, it's a very interesting card for this community.
Yeah, very interesting card. Yeah, wow, that's, all sorts of things are conjured up when because we are programmed, to be very anti the establishment, and that includes the Rosicrucians and the Masonry and all of that, and the secret societies. And why keep secrets? Why keep secrets? And who are you keeping secrets from? And what are the Jesuits stroke Jews you know, whoever the top, what are they doing to kind of keep it from us? And are they really our friend? Because I really struggle with that. But it is interesting because you know that in your life that you know truths about the world that you don't just go and blurt out to everybody in the street. Some people do. I know there's a few among us who,
Joe goes and accosts a pilot in the airplane.
Joe sent me a video of him getting off a plane and accosting the pilot. Says to the pilot, what do you know? He's got a strong Liverpool accent. What do you know about geoengineering? And the guy doesn't know much about that. And he's just changing topic. Do you account for curvature? And the pilot's immediately prickling and goes, "Oh, what do you mean? What are you getting at?" And gets all defensive about that. But no, so there is, like I used to be in the early days of activism, I used to fantasize about standing on the train underground and just like telling people out loud, this whole thing's a scam. And I don't really feel that anymore. I feel like these people are where they're at. And obviously, it's almost like a persona change when I go and stand in the street and then, I'm just going to tell those people stuff. But, the kind of, the need, I wish people would know, and I wish they had the ears to hear it. But equally, it's like maybe we have to recognize that there is secrets that it's almost like what's the Lord of the Rings or whatever analogy, where you've got to go through these stages yourself of self-mastery and so on to discover the true secrets of who we are and what this place is. And in fact, if, like you say, Nathan, that nothing here is material or nothing is like real until we observe it, then why are we getting so upset about something that's not even real? I know obviously when you see it on the screen and if it's in front of you and it's a family member and so on, it's very, very real. But I do think that there's some wisdom in that, and I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, even though I do think that there's nefarious.
Well, I think that's why that's that inner remembrance, right? I think even with astrology, I think it's in your bones. I think that we have the wisdom. We've just got to be listening from a very different place, not up here, not with these, but perhaps from our heart. They say the truth is written on our heart. It's like that we've come seeded with that wisdom. I even think that the ether carries that wisdom, that consciousness, and that's why our breath is so incredibly important, because whether there is an alchemy that happens when we breathe in our body, a connection to something that we have access to if we're able to hear.
All the answers are waiting in the silence. Credit to Squirrel Sniper. Well, it can be fun putting on an act of waking people up with whatever creativity you like. Hopefully, yes.
You guys know that Dave was, I think we may have said this in a thing, but Dave did Amdram for a while, amateur dramatics, and at school, obviously, he was very into doing
a bit of theatre stuff.
So he's got
I did enjoy that.
He's got that kind of.
Always the bridegroom, though.
Yeah, he never got the starring role. He was always the understudy.
So, on that bombshell, I think we might leave the stream until next Friday.
You must be a shill, though, then, right? Maybe it's been an act all along.
I was in amateur dramatics.
Yeah.
I don't have an IMDb, unlike, I believe, a whole lot of people. I'm not even going to start naming names, but people who just recently became just whatever.
Well, anyway, we should just say that the Ukrainian president or Prime Minister, whatever
He
is.
does, and of course Donald Trump, and
Well, I
the
mean,
Canadian dude,
I
and
don't-
the current guy we know did a year at Oxford in England, the Keir
Keir
Starmer.
Starmer, yeah.
Um,
In fact, the press secretary, the current press secretary,
so
the young lady, she strikes me as
oh,
someone who's
the American girl,
Mm.
she woman, I should say.
Mm.
Yeah, well, it's really fun and interesting theater, and you know, it's like the politics is like, see, sleight of hand, look at this, what I'm giving you here. In the meantime, Bush something is coming from the other side, so it's going to be real fun and games, and I think that for me, going to that protest was good on Saturday, because I saw where I was at in terms of my own progress on it, you know, my emotion. Although it, you know, filming those young people on those placards who have tragically been taken, it's hugely poignant and upsetting. My I'm not like boiling with anger about that, and I know it might be harder for me to say that if it was like my own child had just, you know, been cut short. So, but that would be a test in itself for me. You know, that would be a new test. Like, okay, so you know, you've got to like manage that, and my heart goes out to those people who are in that position where
I think that's an important thing to add, because you know, we've been talking a lot about this, but that we are here having this human experience, and this human experience means that we get to feel the whole spectrum of emotions. We get to experience the highs and the lows, the loss, the grief, but the joy and the bliss, hopefully too, and that is what our soul or higher self or, you know, spiritual expression has come here to experience. And with that we feel real emotions. You know, we feel empathy and sympathy and heartache and all those things.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, I know this game is wanting to get me either neutered and like muted, or like, you know, outraged. And as I said, there is another half hour. There is more, but there's a half hour of video that I've edited and loaded to come up on Sunday morning. So if you've got nothing to do on Sunday morning, then you might want to check that out. I did have one or two really nice conversations, a couple that I didn't get on camera, but that's how it goes. Anyway, my friends, I really appreciate you being here. We'll see you next Friday.